why urban warfare in Gaza will be bloodier than in Iraq. The war in Gaza is exacting a brutal toll on civilians. The Hamas-run Health Ministry says that more than 8,000 people have died. The number of children among them, more than 3,000, exceeds the annual death toll for children in all wars in each of the preceding 3 years. Economists estimate from satellite imagery that over a tenth of Gaza's housing stock has been destroyed, leaving more than 280,000 people without homes to which they can return. In many ways, that fits with the norm of urban warfare, which is usually destructive, but Israel's war in Gaza is also distinctive. War in built-up areas is always bloody. America's first assault on Fallujah in 2004 killed as many as 600 civilians, or 0.2% of the population, compared with 0.3% in today's war in Gaza. A second assault later in the year killed around 800 more and left the majority of the city's buildings damaged. A battle for Saddle City, a suburb of Baghdad, is thought to have killed nearly 1,000 people in March and April 2008 out of a population of around 2 million, not dissimilar to that of Gaza. The largest urban battle in recent years was the assault on the city of Mosul, which had been seized by the Islamic State group by an American-led coalition including Iraq and Kurdish ground forces. At least 8,000 civilians were killed in Mosul during 2016 to 2017, according to Airwars, a non-profit organization that tracks civilian harm. That amount to 0.6% of the population at the time. Of the buildings that were damaged, more than 80% were residential. These cases might suggest that the war in Gaza, though destructive, is not usually so by historical standards, at least not yet. Yet, there are also key differences. The first and biggest is the status of civilians. In Mosul, IS attempted to prevent civilians from fleeing, firing at them and mining corridors out of the city. Corridor. And mine corridors out of the city. Many left nonetheless. Between October 2016 and June 2017, nearly 900,000 departed, almost half of the pre-war population. Even Russia, during its siege of Mariupol in Ukraine between February and May 2022, negotiated humanitarian pauses in which some civilians were permitted to leave. Israel has thus far rejected calls by the European Union and others for such pauses. Gaza's geography is less permissive than any of these cases. Israel has told around 1.1 million civilians to evacuate from the north of Gaza, but around but around a third of those have remained in place. Many residents are already refugees from other places and fear that if they leave, they might never be allowed to return to their homes. Those who do those do those who do want to escape cannot go south to Egypt, which does not want to take responsibility for refugees and has so far refused to open its border. Israel is still striking parts of southern Gaza, albeit in more limited fashion than the north. Locals cannot locals can locals can really get away, nor can fighting really occur in open areas away from urban centers, says Amos Fox, an expert on urban warfare who has written extensively about Mosul. The urban fight in Gaza is self-contained and likely far more costly than anything we have seen in the past few years, even though civilians who have moved south face a growing humanitarian crisis. Gaza's health Gaza's healthcare system has capacity for only 3,500 beds, according to Medicines Sans Frontieres, a humanitarian group far short of what it needed. Far short of what it needed. What is needed. Far short of what is needed. Far short of what is needed. In Mosul, by contrast, the World Health Organization are able to establish trauma stabilization points to provide urgent medical attention within 10 to 15 minutes of the front line, with larger field hospitals another hour away. The Israel Defense Forces (IDF) have a small number of humanitarian affairs officers embedded in its fighting units whose role it is to try and address the needs of the local population. Embedded. But these are far from sufficient for dealing with the needs and scale of misery resulting from a ground offensive. Israeli politicians have said they will not send aid for civilians until all hostages are released, though officials acknowledge that may change as the offensive develops. A second difference is the degree to which civilian and military infrastructure is intermingled in Gaza. In Iraq, intermingled, intermingled. A second difference is the degree to which civilian and military infrastructure is intermingled in Gaza. In Iraq, IS had held Mosul for little over 2 years when the battle to remove them began. Even in that short period, the group had established impressive multi-layered defenses, drawing on Western military doctrine, says Rupert Jones, a retired British Major General who was deputy commander of the anti-IS coalition. Hamas, in contrast, was founded in Gaza in 1987 and has much easier roots there. Dating back to the foundation of the warfare organization Mujama al-Islamiyah by Ahmed as seen in 1973. For half a century, it has been fully integrated into Gaza's social fabric and has run the strip for 16 years. Its defenses have been built around and under the territory's civilian infrastructure. Part of the ease with which Hamas seized Gaza from Palestinian rivals in 2007 was down to the fact that its fighters were recruited from the street. Ease.
Ease.
A third difference is tactics. Israel's